Hey, what's up? My name is Zach. I'm going to share with you some productivity tips and how I use time blocking to keep my day organized and efficient. So right now it's 7:55 a.m. and that is not very early for a lot of people. I've been sitting here just kind of wasting some time. I think sometimes it's okay to let yourself have like relaxation time, whatever. It's good to not be a little worker bee all the time. But I did get up at like 6:30 this morning, if that counts for anything. But anyway, I was about to time block my day on my whiteboard, and I figured I would show you kind of what I do and also talk about some of the habits I try to keep to help me be as efficient and effective as possible and really just maximize my days so that I can be as good of a business owner and a mentor to people and somebody who does stuff on social media and is trying to do this whole YouTube thing as well as good of a husband as possible. So let me grab my whiteboard and let's start looking at it. Okay, so this is my whiteboard. You've seen whiteboards before. This is just how I keep my life organized, and honestly, I don't understand how anybody can live without these. Here's a little bit of tea. My tax people need a whiteboard like how I do this, and they are like one strike away from getting fired because of the amount of stuff that I have to keep calling and being like, hey, did you do this? Oh no, I forgot. Just write it down, But anyway, so I get that it's not like everybody's first thought. So let me just go ahead and take you through some of the different sections of my whiteboard. Okay, so in my top corner is my running to-do list. And currently it's a little thin. Whenever I take stuff out, sometimes I will go to the hassle of erasing and rewriting stuff just so it's all top aligned. That's one of the problems of it being a whiteboard and not like a computer. Whenever anything comes into my brain that I think, wow, that's a good idea, or at least that's something I need to take action on, like maybe a client texts me and says, hey, Zach, are you available this date? Well, not in that example. I will text those people back right away because I'll look at the calendar. But if it's something else like if somebody pays me, right? Sometimes I get payments through Venmo or Cash App or whatever, and those aren't automatically applied to my CRM, which is just my client relationship management service. So what I have to do is I have to go in and manually input it. So usually I'll ask my phone to remind me, and then I will come over here and I'll put on the whiteboard, add payment to whatever, if I'm not in the mood or have the time right then to go ahead and, turn on my computer and go ahead and do everything manually. But anyway, you can see, watch HF Pinterest video, Hustle and Flow. Awesome education for photographers and small businesses in general, especially in the wedding industry. Follow up with Bailey Dowdle, just texting somebody back, send gallery to venues. Oh, I already did that. Where's my, found it. Here we go. Watching history here. I'm gonna do it mirrored. Wow. Okay, so I'm not as smart as I thought I was. What's on this to-do list is less important, but essentially I think it's very important to keep a running to-do list. Your brain is very good at thinking you're gonna remember things and very bad at actually remembering things. So when you have an idea or something that you think, oh, I should do that, or at least I need to spend more time thinking about that, go over to your to-do list, wherever you keep it, and write down thing, and just put a checkbox by it. And then later when you're time blocking, and I'm going to talk about this in just one sec, you can schedule in, look at to-do list time. Sometimes I'll spend 45 minutes of miscellany and to-do list where I just tackle whatever seems to be the most important at that moment. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the next thing that I think is important is a weekly view and some weekly to-dos. So this is super self-explanatory, obviously. This week, and this is what I did for last week, and note that none of it was checked off, but that was more because I didn't follow up with actually checking things off, but also I didn't complete any of those, but I sure tried, which, let me stop and let's talk about that for a second. So, dang it, just looked at it and noticed that I didn't complete my weekly goals last week, and you know what? I have two choices right now. I can be upset and, mad at earlier Zach for not doing everything that I wanted to do and accomplishing those goals. Or I can say, okay, maybe I could create blame around whatever kind of thing. But ultimately, I can accept that it just didn't happen, and I can address that this week. Just like I talk about in my budgeting videos, I think right as you start out something new like this, where you're very pre-planned and trying to do a really good job of it, that the first couple attempts, you're gonna have a good idea of what'll work, but you're not going to actually know. And so I think it's important to give yourself grace and just room to be wrong so that you can improve upon it next week instead of just shutting down because you failed. Okay, so anyway, to end this little sidebar, if you set goals for yourself daily or weekly, then try your hardest to do them. But don't be upset if you miss. Don't be upset if you're not perfect, because I think that often we hold ourselves to the highest standards, higher than we would hold anybody else. And, we're also our worst critics. So if you do 80% of what you plan to, then you should be really stoked. And also you should know that there are plenty of people out there who are doing 50% of what you want to in whatever thing you're putting effort towards. So be comfy in the fact that you are killing it and doing way more than a lot of people. Another thing super important to my productivity and success is Monster Energy. Please sponsor me. I am Amazon auto shipped, subscribed to these, and Monster, it would be really helpful. Don't you want to add a wedding photographer to your team? I mean, what do you have to lose? $30-$40 in product a month and endless hype. Excuse me, you can afford that. This week, today's Monday, so I'm gonna go ahead and update my this week for this week. I'm gonna upload and obviously edit and shoot 4 videos. I'm gonna read every day, and I didn't schedule reading into my time block at all, so I should go back and fix that. I'm gonna calorie count because your boy's trying to be all skinny, looking good. I'm gonna work on my friend Logan's website, trying to help him go from good to epic as a photographer brand. And then lastly, I'm just gonna edit this wedding that I shot this past Friday. There was a small backyard wedding. Yay! Okay, so now that I'm done with my this week plan, I'm able to break that into more day of kind of things. So each day, at the beginning of my day, I sit down, and after taking just a couple minutes to think and just kind of be in my office before I actually start working, I start to time block. So if you're not familiar with that, time blocking is where essentially you're just planning out your day, or at least your time, to smaller chunks. And where I found this is the most helpful is if I have multi-day projects, or since I'm working on a whole ton of different things in any given day. It helps me stay focused and to make sure I'm applying the right amount of effort to the right categories, so that at the end of the day, I'm gonna look back and say, wow, I used my time really well, thank goodness, instead of, man, I misused my time and I put all my effort into this one thing that has less return than this other thing. And speaking of that, one thing that I think is super important when you're doing this, especially if you're an entrepreneur who's working on multiple different things, is you need to be considering return on investment. I'm trying to do YouTube, but I'm also trying to do photography. Currently, photography has a 100% return on investment, which isn't to say that every minute I make money, but it's to say that every bit of effort, I think, collectively and holistically in the long term, is gonna return income due to brand awareness, reputation, client experience, quality, and confidence in my product in general by spending a lot of time with it. So I know that photography is gonna have a really good return on my time investment. YouTube at the moment has no monetary return on investment. So just the other day, I time blocked out my day, and I noticed that I was spending more time on YouTube than on photography, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because obviously YouTube long game can be very profitable. That's not necessarily my goal. I'm just doing this for fun, but it's not making any money right now. So why am I gonna put more effort towards the thing that is taking more resources and giving less output as compared to something that is already producing back. Does that make any sense? So essentially, as you're doing this, I want you to look back later at the end of it, at the end of time blocking, or even just at the end of the day or the week, and assess, did I really put my time where I needed to, and then course correct going forward. So with all that kind of set up, let me go ahead and show you how I time block. I might do a voiceover for this, or I might just kind of talk as I'm doing it, but this is my real time block for today. It's 8:15 a.m. now. Started recording this at like 7:54 or something. But this is actually what I'm gonna do today, and hope it inspires you or helps you. Also, yes, I'm currently using a tissue box to hold our microphone because we don't have a little desktop stand because it was gonna take a month to ship. #thanks coronavirus. And I didn't want to use the whole mic stand sitch because then it takes up like so much space, so yeah. Okay, so that is how I time block my day. So let me go ahead and talk just a little bit about some of the thoughts behind kind of what I was doing, because I anticipate that while I edit this, I'm gonna either very much fast forward through me actually doing that, or maybe I'll just do a voiceover and this can be supplementary. Whatever, here we go. So I started at the top with my today have-tos, and essentially those are my biggest overarching goals for the day, where my two largest projects. So I want to edit and upload this video, very meta, and I would like to edit my most recent wedding that needs to be done and edited. So then essentially I just went through my day. I usually try to work till about 5:30, and I usually try to start work before 9. Hopefully, by doing this, I can just get an extra hour or two that some other people don't do. And then also I know that the vast majority of wedding photographers don't actually do stuff during the day, or, they only edit. I cannot tell you how many people I see constantly that I know aren't shooting new stuff, being like, oh, almost done catching up on editing with this quarantine. And I'm just like, what? How are you not already caught up? Like, we've been at home for like a month. Anyway, won't get into it. So essentially I tried to keep it in as small blocks of time as possible, because I really do believe that work expands to the amount of time that you give it. So if you have a project that if you focus and try hard on, it'll take you an hour. But if you give yourself 2 hours, you better believe that it's gonna magically take you 2 hours. Go ahead and give yourself less time than you think you need. And with that, that's why I put in some miscellaneous and just like to-dos block of times, so that if something happens where I legitimately do need more time on something, then I'm able to circle back without having to slide the rest of my schedule around. So try that one out. Schedule Instagram, use Planoly. I have a whole video about it, super cool. Engage on Instagram. I've been obsessed with going and actually just liking photos lately and commenting on things. Maybe that's first grade, but it has boosted my profile visits 3x just by engaging on Instagram, so try that one out. Just a whole bunch of other stuff. Wedding stuff, edit this video, hang out with Madison. She's working too, so maybe that'll sync up with her schedule, maybe it won't. Keep editing, just a whole bunch of stuff. But some of the main points here are that I like to bounce around a whole lot between a bunch of different things, and I want to be very specific about what I'm working on in any given couple minute period. So if I was to just say 9 to 12, I'm gonna work on photography stuff, well then you better believe I'm gonna waste a lot of that 3 hours, because I'm gonna have to be deciding in the moment what is the most effective and best thing to be doing. Whereas if I plan ahead of time, then I can really make sure that I'm actually working on the most important thing, and I can get a sense of the whole day, where I know that across the day I'm gonna be really good and really effective at my photography job, as compared to someone who's not being focused or is only editing and that's their whole commitment to this work. So all that to say, I think it's better to be more specific rather than vague, so that you know what you're doing. And I like to bounce around a whole lot. I don't want to stay on one thing for too long, because then I start to lose my focus and I start to be less effective. So I'd rather have to do multiple blocks of the same kind of thing split up across the day, so that I stay interested and don't just start getting distracted, going and looking on Reddit or anything like that. It's a little warm. So that's essentially how I time block my day. Now, Something that I'll do sometimes is, especially if I'm planning well in advance, like the night before, I will go ahead and write out how much each category of my life is taking up. Photography, YouTube, miscellaneous good friend stuff that I like to put during work hours, like how I'm starting to help my friend Logan with his photography business, because I want to help him really just take it from good to flippin' epic, and I think I'll be able to do that. But I'll write out how much time it takes for me to do each thing and how much time I allotted to do each kind of category. And then I'll assess, am I appropriating that time correctly? Which I talked a little bit about earlier in the video, but I just want to be sure that what's giving the most return is getting the most effort in return. And that doesn't mean that, things that aren't profitable don't get any time or any effort, but it's just to say that I want to make sure that I'm using the most of my brain on the things that are doing really well and that will set us up for success, where I can be less, strategic with that, and where I'll eventually have like enough money or whatever that I can spend time freely on some passion projects, as opposed to things that I really like but am mainly spending effort on because they're profitable, which is not to say that I don't love photography or wedding photography. It's just to say that maybe I would choose on some day to spend more time doing something else. But right now, I need to especially focus on my business. A, because my clients are epic and I love them, and B, because it has the best return of all of my things I do, and so it deserves the most time in return. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope maybe you learned a little bit about time blocking. Maybe this will help you to be more efficient and more effective. I know that with all of us stuck at home right now, that some days are really hard to actually feel like you're doing stuff, and what I would say is just start. It's so easy to be like, man, I need to be more productive, and maybe see an inspirational YouTube video. I love watching Ryan Serhant's videos. They fire me up as a Enneagram 3. But, so often it's like the end of the day when we watch that content and we're like, okay, I'll start on it tomorrow. And then we wake up, and then hard to be motivated when the bed is so warm, So you just got to be able to push through that. I didn't want to get up as early as I did this morning, but I did last night, and so I had to make a decision to say thank you to last night Zach, and do something that I think future Zach would really appreciate. So try checking that out. If you have any sort of reservations about doing this, but you think maybe it could be helpful, try it out for a day, try it out for 2 days, and see how you feel, because there's no downside to trying to be effective with your time and trying to maximize how productive you are. You don't have to be some sort of crazy Enneagram 3 who's just trying to check off to-do lists and boxes all day, but I think everybody should strive to be the best them possible, obviously, and just go ahead and work on it. There's no harm in starting today, and there's no harm in messing up a little bit, and there's no harm in it not going perfect. It's never going to be sad to you that you spent your day trying to be efficient, So I hope this video was super epic and benefited you a lot. It was more off the cuff than my usual stuff. Didn't even script it at all. Wow. Improv brain. Thanks. So if you like this, go ahead and like and subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications. I'm very thankful that you watched it, especially if you got to this point. Thanks for the watch time, and I hope you benefited from this. So have a great day, stay epic, Dinosaur Logo.